المرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله الأعظم روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. The subject is real Islam as opposed to fake Islam. Fake Islam is something that looks like Islam, sounds like Islam, but it's not Islam. Allah mentions that in this ayat of Surah Ali Imran. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. Whoever takes Ghayrul Islam as a religion. Ghayrul Islam means something that looks like Islam, but it is not. In other words, a wrong understanding of Islam. A wrong ideology of Islam. And if a person follows that, thinking that this is Islam, Allah says it will never be accepted from you because it's not Islam. So we are in search of finding the Islam that Allah sent, that Rasulullah brought, and that Ahlul Bayt taught. That's what we are looking for. And we want to find out how and what that Islam is, what shape is that, what is the way to recognize that. The first thing we learned is that the basis of real Islam is submission. Taslim. Like Imam Ali said, Al-Islam huwa taslim. Islam is taslim. It is submission. Submitting to what Allah says. Just doing what He says. Whatever Allah gives a command and an order, that's what we have to do. We just accept that, acknowledge that, and submit to that. Now, this is not an easy job. The reason it's not an easy job is because there's something that comes in between us submitting to Allah's command. One of the things, the most important thing that comes between us and submitting to what Allah says, what Ahlul Bayt say, is our ego. There is ego that we have, a pride that we have, that we think that we are something. We give value to ourselves. Giving value to ourselves or thinking that my opinion counts will eventually come in conflict with what Allah is saying or with what Ahlul Bayt and the Imam is saying. And when that conflict happens, a person who has ego will not submit. It's very difficult to submit when a command comes down. You might think that you are doing the right thing. Because we have an ego, we think that, you know what, just if I can get this done, everything will be okay. It's very hard. And I'll give an example for you so that you understand how that situation is, what that situation is when you have to listen to a command and you have something in front of you that can solve so many problems. The example is that Muawiyah, he was the source of fitna and corruption in the Islamic world. Even from before, you see that Muawiyah was a fitna and a corruption. Politician, mastermind, created so many problems in the Muslim world. Havoc, chaos, anarchy, he created that. Made the people stand up against their Imam. So many things he has done. Now, how good would it be if you had a chance to get rid of him? If someone had a chance to get rid of him, then you know what? The fitna will be just struck from the root. Yeah, it's not to say that there won't be any more Muawiyahs coming. Yes, there will be more Muawiyahs coming. But at that time, he was the mother of fitna. Everything of all the problems that were happening went back to Muawiyah. From the time of the Khulafa, he was the one pulling the strings, creating problems. He was the head of the snake. This Muawiyah, if you had a chance to kill him, would you take the chance to get rid of him so that the fitna can stop in the Muslim world and everyone can live at peace? That opportunity came to Malik Ashtar. Malik Ashtar got the opportunity. He was a few yards away from the tent of Muawiyah when he was attacking the army of Muawiyah in the Battle of Siffin. He was just from here to that tent. That's it. That's all that remains. And you know what? There's nothing stopping him. He was heading towards there. If he had gone there, his sword would have gone into Muawiyah. He would have cut him into pieces. That's it. It would have been over. Muawiyah would be done. As he's getting there, and Muawiyah knows its end, it's finished. He's going to die now. Malik Ashtar came to that, and then the command came from Imam Ali that the battle is over. Cease fighting. Imam Ali ordered everyone to cease fighting. The battle is over. Now, you know, a few more seconds, he's going to get to Muawiyah. Now, it's very easy to say, you know what, I didn't hear that yet. I didn't hear it yet. Just let me get this done. You know what? Then it'll be finished. It will be over. At that moment, when you know that you have this in your hand and you can finish the fitna in the world, and the Imam says, stop. You see, at that point, it's very difficult to listen, to obey. Imam's not there to watch him. Imam is back in his tent. Just the order came. My friends, submitting to the command of the Imam is very difficult. It is very hard to submit. And that's why we need to pay attention to submission. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more regarding submission. What that means. Now, before you even submit to Allah, before you even say Allah, there is one step that you have to cross. There's one plane that you have to cross that is more difficult than submission itself. Real Islam, which is Islam, is divided into two parts. And you will learn that today. And both of them are equally important. Let's send a salawat. When Rasulullah came to the scene and introduced Islam to the people, he made a very simple and a very lucrative call. He said, "Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu." He said, say la ilaha illallah and you will be successful. In dunya and akhirat, you will be successful. I guarantee it. You will go to Jannah. Just say la ilaha illallah. Look at this call and look at this offer. It is such a simple offer. Very easy. And we wonder, why is it that the people had a hard time accepting it? All he's saying is that say la ilaha illallah. If you and me were there from the 21st century, we'll be like, la ilaha illallah. He said, just say it, right? He didn't say anything to do, just say it. Qulu means say it. Say la ilaha illallah and you will be successful. Imagine what a great offer he's giving us. An amazing offer that he gave us. Why do you think that those people did not accept the call? I mean, it's like, for example, he's guaranteeing it, money back guarantee, full price. I'll give it back to you if it doesn't work. Anyone would take it. Why didn't they take that offer? You see, it's not that easy as it sounds, right? Because there's a reason they didn't accept it. The reason they didn't accept it is because they knew that, Allah is easy to accept. That part is easy. But you know what? That part before it is difficult. The mushrikeen of Makkah did not have a problem with Allah. They did not have a problem with Allah. They came to Rasulullah and said, okay, we heard that you brought out a new God, Allah. We are ready to accept him. We will give him a very important place in the Kaaba. let's put Allah in the Kaaba, and we will worship Him also. We will respect Him, and we will show Him our honor. He will be honored. And you will be honored because you brought Him to the Kaaba. And you accept this. Did Rasulullah accept the offer? Did Allah accept the offer? They're ready to say Allah. But why didn't Rasulullah accept the offer? Why didn't Allah accept the offer? He says, wait a minute, there's one step that is before Allah that you haven't done. Without it, Allah, or saying Allah, is useless. And that step is called La ilaha. There is a step called La ilaha. Then comes illallah. First, there is rejection. You can't accept me with all these other gods here, these other idols here. No, that doesn't work. First, you need to reject every batil, every false god, every wrong thing. Then you can say illallah. Otherwise, saying Allah without crossing the path of La ilaha, it is not useful. It is not Islam. It is not Islam. And that is why submission requires rejection. You have to reject before you submit. You have to reject all the wrong gods, the false gods, the false ideas, the batil, the falsehood, before you can even start to say Allah. Saying Allah with those things will not be Islam, it will be ghayrul Islam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah gives an example, or He shows this in a different way in Surah Yasin. Those who read Surah Yasin can see this, ayat number 60 and 61. You must have heard this ayat sometime before. This ayat says, Alam ahad ilaykum ya bani Adam an la ta'budu shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin wa an i'buduni hadha siratum mustaqim. Allah is describing siratul mustaqim. Allah is describing real Islam. What is real Islam? He says, did I not take an oath from you, O children of Adam, that you will not serve shaitan? Wa an i'buduni, and that you will serve me. Hada siratum mustaqim. This is siratul mustaqim, the right path. So siratul mustaqim is two things. One, not serving shaitan, and two, serving Allah. Serving Allah alone is not siratul mustaqim. Rejecting shaitan alone is not siratul mustaqim. Both of them have to be combined in order for real Islam to come about. Shaitan has to be rejected. Allah has to be then accepted. Both of these things have to go along, my friends. Then Islam is real. Otherwise, if anything in between that is mixed up, then that's not Islam. And there, that formula you can use anywhere, and you can find out whether this is Islam or this is not Islam. So when we read these two things, you can divide the whole world into four groups of people. Into four groups of people, logically. There's no hadith regarding it, but just logically speaking, you can only divide the whole world into four groups of people. Three of them are wrong, one of them is right. And now we just need to see what these groups are. Four groups. The first group, remember, real Islam is rejecting shaitan and accepting Allah. Two things together. Four groups of people you can divide. The first group are people who reject Allah and submit to shaitan. Simple group. Most of the people in the world fall under this category. They reject Allah and they have accepted shaitan. Their thinking is very simple. Listen, I can't see Allah, I haven't seen Allah, I haven't met Him, not heard from Him. So, you know what, I'm not going to follow. Come on, I don't need those bricks on my shoulder, I don't need to feel guilty. Just let me be. And they just go with shaitan. Technically, they're called abna'ud dunya, slaves of dunya. They are known as slaves of dunya. Those who just run after dunya. That's it. Dunya is everything for them. Their deen is dollars. That's it. In hadith it says dinar. I'm saying dollars because, every time I say dinar, right, youngsters are like, what is that? So, dollars. Their religion is dollars. They follow dollars wherever it goes. They follow money. Money is their religion. These are known as abna'ud dunya. Imam Ali in Nahjul Balagha describes them as the walking dead. Describes them as the walking dead. They're dead people who are walking, like zombies. Zombies are real, not the zombies you see in movies. Zombies are real, and these are people whose deen is dunya. Dunya is their deen. Imam Ali says that they're dead people who are just walking around. They're not actually alive. They have died. Why? Because they rejected Allah and they have submitted to shaitan. This is the first group. Now, the second group of people are a little bit different. There's a second group of people that says, this is a fight between Allah and shaitan. I mean, Allah is fighting shaitan, shaitan is fighting Allah, and we don't want to get involved in this. We are not into politics, and this is all politics. And so, they stay away from Allah, they stay away from shaitan. They say, we don't want to get involved in this fight, let me just stay home, hide in my house, I'll just live my life, and that's it. I will do what I have to do. The second majority in the world falls under this category. They fall under this category. Who are these people? They will see that are not involved in anything. They are not involved in anything. They just stay home and that's it. They have rejected Allah and they have rejected shaitan. Both of them. And they don't understand that shaitan is laughing at them. Because to shaitan, it's not important if you reject him. To shaitan, what's important is if you reject Allah. If you have rejected Allah, whether you accept shaitan or not, it doesn't matter. You have already obeyed and served shaitan. These people don't understand that. They think by staying away from everything that they're safe. No, they're not safe. You're not safe if you stay away from that. This is a second group of people. The third group of people are a little bit smarter. They're businessmen. They are businessmen. They're smarter. They look at Allah. Allah has power. He has sent prophets. Prophets have made promises, warnings, and everything. And they look at shaitan. Shaitan also has power. Dunya is his domain. It's his kingdom. This dunya is his kingdom, and he does what he wants here. So now what happens is that in dunya, shaitan is there. And then Allah is there. So now these people are a little bit smart. They don't reject neither. They said, you know what, let's be smart. And who knows who's going to win? Allah or shaitan, we don't know. So let's serve both of them. Let's serve both shaitan and let's serve Allah. Let us serve both. Be obedient to both. So when it comes to Allah, they will obey what Allah says. They are religious people who obey what Allah says. And when it comes to shaitan, they also go and give their attendance to shaitan. Well, we are with you also. Don't worry. Because these people are afraid that, you know what, maybe Allah loses. Shaitan wins, so I'm with shaitan. Meaning there's no akhirat. If there's no akhirat, at least I win here. I'm with dunya and I'm with those who run the dunya. You see, this is a businessman. And there are a lot of people who fall under this category. Fall in this category. And Allah is saying in the Surah Yasin in the Quran, that listen, all these three groups are wrong. And that deen that they follow is not deen. Why? Because Sirat-e-Mustaqim is that you have to reject shaitan and you have to submit to me. If you do this, then you are successful. Otherwise, that deen, that religion, and that way that you are living cannot be real Islam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Rejection, my friends, is the important part. La ilaha illallah. Islam is this. The whole of Islam is in one sentence. Rejecting wrong and batil and then accepting Allah. That's why if you see that Allah gave 2 obligations in our furu ad-din. 2 obligations Allah gave to portray La ilaha illallah. It came as the tafsir of La ilaha illallah. 2 obligations. It is called tawarra and tabarra. Tawalla means to be under the wilayat of Allah and Ahlul Bayt, and tabarra means to be an enemy of those who are the enemy of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. That's it. This is what? There is La ilah and there's illallah. Tabarra represents La ilah. Tawalla represents illallah. Both of these are obligations for us. So Islam is not just that I love Allah. Well, how about the enemies of Allah? Well, they're good people also. They're good people also. We can't say bad about them. It's against akhlaq to do that. What? Which akhlaq are you talking about? Where did you learn this akhlaq from? It's an obligation that you should have hatred for the enemies of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. And this is a religion now. A lot of people follow this religion. That when you have the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, they're like, well, we shouldn't say bad about them. What do you mean we shouldn't say bad about them? They're enemies of Ahlul Bayt. How can you not say anything bad about them? You have to hate them. You have to curse them. Well, we can't do that. Well, what are you going to do with Ziyarat-e-Ashura then? That ziyarat that Imam Sadiq taught, what are you going to do with that? Throw it away in the garbage? Oh, this can't be Islam because it's cursing, the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Ziyarat-e-Ashura is this, cursing the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Really understand this. What is wrong with this Islam that you, meaning I'm not talking to you obviously, I'm talking in general. Of course you are mu'mineen and that's different. That a person is unwilling to forgive his own enemies, but he's okay with the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. If someone has done wrong to you, that's it. I don't want to see him until the day of judgment. There we'll decide who was right and wrong. Yes, anyone who says anything to you, even if it's not an insult, even if it's not offensive, but you mind and you took it harsh, now you're not ready to forgive him. But the enemies of Ahlul Bayt who brought Bibi Fatima into the court and put her in front of everyone as a spectacle, you're okay with that? What kind of deen is that? That is not deen. This is not deen. My friends, we have to see that the enemies of Ahlul Bayt have to be announced and cursed. Yes, we're not saying take their names and abuse them. That's wrong. But we need to recognize or at least have the hatred in our heart that these people have done wrong. And they're wrong. And may Allah curse them for the wrong that they have done. That has to be said. Yes, it's one thing that we take names and being. No, of course not. We will not do that. Neither did Ahlul Bayt do that. Neither are we going to do that. But when we have to talk about reality and history, we can't just hide things because it's a wajib on us. It's called tabarra. It is one of the obligations on us. Why? Because it represents La ilaha. It's a part of religion. It's a manifestation of La ilaha. Salawat ala Muhammad. It's a manifestation of La ilaha. That's why deen is 2 things, La ilaha and then illallah. Both have to be combined. You cannot just accept Ahlul Bayt and say, I'm okay with them also. You have a religion like that, right? There are many people who say, we respect Ahlul Bayt, we love them, we do that also. And them, radiyallahu anhum, we love them also. You can't just do that. You can't have it both ways. Islam is about rejecting what is wrong and accepting what is right. You can't just be accepting right and say, oh, they're right also. It cannot work like that. That's why La ilaha illallah is deen. Neither is La ilaha deen, neither is Allah deen. Both of them have to go together, and then you have the foundation of Islam. Then you have the foundation of Islam. Imam Hussain stood to establish this message of La ilaha illallah. If there's, Imam Hussain established that. Look at the message that he established. He established both these parts. He established La ilaha, he established illallah. Both of them he established. And both of them, that were the foundation of his mission. And the mission was not in Karbala. It didn't start in Karbala. It started in Medina. The mission of Hussein started in Medina. It ended in Karbala. The first part of the mission was in Medina. The second part of the mission was in Karbala. The first part was establishing La ilaha. How did he do that? By rejecting the bay'at of Yazid. The batil of the time, the wrong of the time, the zalim of the time, he rejected that zalim. Said, I will not make bay'at to you. I will not go under your wilayat. I will stand up to you. That rejection was the first part of La ilaha. That was the first part of La ilaha. He established that. And then what? Yes, I rejected wrong. If you just reject all the time, then you are a rebel without a cause. Yeah, you just want to rebel. I'm against this, I'm against that. Well, what are you for? What are you for? I mean, if you're always anti, you become a Democrat then. But then what happens is that if you see that, that's not deen, only as half of it. Now you have to, if you're anti that, yes, but what are you for? What do you stand for? Then it has to be understood. So Imam Hussain declared that. He declared that in Arafat. He declared that in Hajj. In Dua Arafat he says, what do I stand for? I stand for this. And in one sentence of Dua Arafat he said, ماذا وجد من فقدك وماذا الذي فقد من وجدك. Allah, what has he gained who has lost you? And what has he lost who has gained you? Anyone who has gained you, if he loses everything in the world, he hasn't lost anything. And if someone has found the whole world and the treasures of the world, but he has lost you, then he has lost everything. This was the decree of Imam Hussain, the manifesto of Imam Hussain. He says, this is what I believe in. He said that in Dua Arafat. In Arafat he said it, and he did it and showed it in Karbala. Where was illallah? Where was it established? In Karbala. When was it established? When Hussein gave everything, lost everything, gave away his family, his children, everything. He gave it to Allah, and then he went into sajda for the last time, and then he said, Ridan biqada'ik wa tasliman li amrik. Allah, I am happy what you have done with me, and I submit to your command. This, my friends, is illallah. This is where Hussein established that it is Allah that I did that rejection for. I rejected Yazid not because I was interested in it, no, because of Allah. Allah is the one. You see, that's how it's put together. A lot of people don't understand that deen has these two parts, La ilaha illallah. Hussein stood for that. Some people understood half of it, Some people express the other half. Those I will explain to you through poetry. The first half of Husayn's mission, which is the rejection of batil, was understood by Mu'in Chishti when he said, Shah Hastu Husayn, Badshah Hastu Husayn, Deen Hastu Husayn, Deen Panah Hastu Husayn, Sardad, Nada Dasdar Dast Yazid, Hakka ke binae la ilah sta Husayn. Husayn is the king, Husayn is religion, he is the refuge of religion. He is the one who gave his life but did not give his hand. And then what? He is truly the foundation of what? La ilaha. Some ignorant people, they try to correct what he has wrote and say, La ilaha illallah. No, La ilaha. Because Husayn, by rejecting Yazid, established La ilaha, not La ilaha illallah. He established the first part. And the second part of Husayn's mission, which was illallah, was expressed by Allama Iqbal. Naqsh illallah bar Sahra navisht. That Husayn has written the name of illallah on the desert of Karbala. This, my friends, is what Husayn stood for. La ilaha illallah. And together they make real Islam. They build real Islam for us. If a person wants to have that character, that is the character of La ilaha illallah, he needs to make that grow. When we look at that, yes, it's not an absolute thing. It doesn't mean that, either you have it or you don't have it. Love is not about, do you love me? It's not about do you love me. It's about how much do you love me. Love is not an absolute thing. Either you have it or not. Love has degrees. When we say love Ahlul Bayt, the issue for Shias is not if you love Ahlul Bayt or not. Everyone loves Ahlul Bayt. But how much do you love Ahlul Bayt? And the same thing with Islam. Islam is that it's not, are you a Muslim or not? No. Everyone is a Muslim. But how much submission have you done? How much is your Islam? What is your degree? That is what's important. And here, same thing is with La ilaha illallah. Your character is La ilaha illallah. I reject batil, I accept that is the truth. I do that. That has to grow, my friends. That has to grow. And one of the ways, the main way that this character grows in a person is through Imam Hussain. It's through the azadari of Imam Hussain. Through the love of Imam Hussain. When you love Imam Hussain, the characteristic of La ilaha illallah grows in you. It becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. That's it for today. And when you establish it as a child, in your children, establish that. I mean, really, all of us who are Shia, even as a child, we were taken to the majlis of Imam Hussain and made to sit down there. How many of us understood the majlis when we were kids? Be honest, no one. But that light that was in that majlis has affected us for the rest of our life. It is a growth process. It is a growth process. And being in the majlis is important. And giving the love of Hussain to your children at an early age so that they grow like that. Rasulullah had said that anyone who puts the love of Hussain in his heart, in the hearts of their children, I will guarantee that they are going to heaven. Anyone who does that. Long time ago in Medina, there was a businessman. Start here now. And he was a mu'min. He was a mu'min person. And what he did is that he had a trade. He had a son also. His son was grown up, young man, teenage young man, 20s. And one day they were walking and they came across Rasulullah. They came across Rasulullah, met with him. Rasulullah was walking with Imam Hussein, who was a toddler. He was walking with Imam Hussein. The father, who was a friend of Rasulullah, a companion, he started talking with Rasulullah, different things. And Imam Hussein and the other boy, who was not a boy, I would say, I'll just call him a teenager, 20 years old. He was also walking behind. Both of them were walking behind. Rasulullah was ahead, and this man was ahead. And as they were walking down the streets of Medina, Rasulullah came to a full stop. He came to a full stop. He turned around and looked directly at that young man. Directly at that young man, into his eyes, and asked him to come forward. The boy came forward. Rasulullah embraced him and kissed him and told him, I want to give you glad tidings of going to heaven, and in Jannat you are going to be with me. And I also want to give glad tidings that your parents are going to go to Jannat also. That your parents are going to Jannat also. So the companion of Rasulullah was first of all, amazed and happy and gleeful and joyful that he got the news of going to Jannat. And he asked him, Rasulullah, I'm so thankful you made this dua, and I know your dua will never be rejected. I am so thankful you did that for me. But why? Why did you show so much affection to my son? Why did you show so much affection to us? He says, because you taught him to love Hussein. You taught him to love Hussein. He says, how? He says, when we were walking, because Rasulullah could see everything around him. When we were walking, your son was walking behind Hussein. He did not want to walk side by side with Hussein. He respected him so much that he was walking behind him. And he was seeing wherever Hussein was stepping, he was taking the dirt from there and throwing it on his head. Taking it as tabarruk. Putting it on his head and crying that I have the dirt from the feet of Hussein. Youngster who was in love with Hussein. That's it, my friends. The father's name was Madahir and the son's name was Habib ibn Madahir. This was Habib, who grew up loving Imam Hussein, who grew up with the marifat of Imam Hussein. This is Habib. Now you see, Habib didn't just become Habib just by accident, my friends. He grew up with this marifat because his parents had taught him that. And that's why everyone looked up to Habib as the main person who knew Ahlul Bayt more than anyone else. Habib ibn Madahir. He was one of those people. In fact, everyone joined Imam Hussein. Everyone joined Imam Hussein. But Habib ibn Madahir was called by Imam Hussein. Did you know that? Imam Hussein himself wrote a letter to Habib. Habib was in Kufa when Imam Hussein was in Karbala. Kufa was blocked. All the doors were sealed. Anyone trying to sneak out of Kufa was killed. Many people were killed unjustly. Just that they were saying, I'm going to my field. They were killed for that. No one was allowed to leave Kufa. Everything was blocked. So they had no news of where Imam Hussein is. What is happening? What's going on? Everyone is under a curfew in Kufa. And Imam Hussein sent a rider with a letter to go and give this to Habib. Habib, he was eating supper with his family when the rider knocked on his door. As he knocked on his door, Habib went to see who it is. And he saw it's a writer. The writer said, I have a letter for you. Who is it from? From Husayn ibn Ali. As soon as Habib heard that, his feet started to shake. I mean, he had respect for Husayn. Husayn has written a letter for me. He took that letter, put it on his eyes, kissed it, but he did not want to show anything to his family because he knows the content of the letter and what it entails. He took the letter and nonchalantly walked back to the supper table. And as he went to the supper table, his family, his wife, asked him, what is it? Who was it? He said, it was a writer. He said, what did he bring? He brought a letter. From whom? From Husayn ibn Ali. Now the family also is like seeing that he's not showing any emotion. Habib relaxed. He says, well, aren't you going to read it? He says, all right, let me open it. And Habib opened it. And the letter read, Min Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. From Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ila rajulin faqih. This is a letter written to a man with deep knowledge and understanding. Habib ibn Mazahir, Rajulul Faqih, Imam Hussain is calling him that. You are a faqih. You are someone who has deep understanding of deen. He says, Fata'alam. Habib, you know that no one is closer to Rasulullah than us, than me and my family. We are the closest to Rasulullah. No one is closer to Rasulullah. You know that. You know that. And hence, he wrote then, وَأَنْتَ أَعْرَفُ بِنَا مِنْ غَيْرِكَ. And you know me more than anyone else. You know me in this world other than my Ahlul Bayt. You are the one who has the most knowledge about us Ahlul Bayt. He says, وَأَنْتَ ذُو شِيمَ وَغِيرَةٍ. And you are a man who is fearless and you have honor, you have ghayrat. You have honor. Then Hussein says, إِن تُرِيد نُصْرَتُنَا فَأَنَا قَرِيبٌ بِقَرْبَلَا. Really, look at Hussein. Look at the akhlaq of Hussein. Habib is dying inside reading this letter. Hussein says, these are the words of Hussein. He says, Habib, if you want to help us, if you want to help us, then I am very close to you in Karbala. If you want to help me, can you imagine that? Habib, when he read that letter, he tried so hard to hold himself back from crying and breaking down because he wanted to make sure that his family is with him. He took that letter and nonchalantly put that letter away and then started eating. The family looked at him and the wife asked him, so Habib, what are you going to do? Are you going to go or not? He says, Hussein needs soldiers. I'm just an old man. Just an old man. What am I going to do? He says, what are you talking about? He says, listen, if I go, you will become a widow. I'm going to die and you will become a widow. And the wife said, so will Hussein's wife and children. They will also become widow. He says, but our children will become yatim and orphan. He says, so will Hussein's children will become yatim. Habib hesitated. It is said in one riwayat, in one history it says, the wife got so angry at that moment and so emotional. She said, Habib, here, take my hijab and you wear it and give me your sword and I will go and fight for Hussein. Habib said, that's all I wanted to hear. I wanted to make sure that you are with me on this. I will go to Hussein, but I want to make sure that I'm going with you, that you should know where I'm going. His relatives start to stop him. His sisters were saying, don't go, people are dying, leaving Kufa. Don't go from here. But then, as he made arrangements to go, he got the horse ready. He told the slave, go to this gate and wait for me there. That's the gate to leave. I know this gate. No one will be there, and no one knows this way out of Kufa except for me. I know that way. Habib is an old-timer here. And he tells him, so the slave goes with the horse. He goes there, and then he comes back to the house and tells his wife, I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to divorce you. His wife said, why? It's because I'm leaving. I'm going to divorce you. And the wife said, no, I don't want you to divorce me. I don't want you to divorce me because I want to go in front of Rasulullah on the day of judgment and say that I am the widow of Habib ibn Madahir. My husband, I gave my husband for your Hussein. Habib did not divorce her. He left. He came to that gate where his slave was waiting with the horse. And then he got on the horse and he told the slave that, listen, I free you. You can go now wherever you want. You know, the slave, he's a servant, a slave. He's raised by Habib. He tells Habib that, master, I've always lived with you and I've always known you. Are you going to take the opportunity for me to go to Jannat away from me? Are you not going to allow me to go to Jannat with you? When he said that, he says, then you come with me also. And he took the slave. And they both, Habib knows the ways of Kufa and outside of Kufa. They start riding, hiding from the army, hiding from the sight of any spies that can spot him. But on the other side, Hussein is waiting. You see, Hussein's situation is this. And since Imam Hussein came to Karbala on the 2nd of Muharram, no one came to help Hussein. In fact, people were leaving Hussein. No one came to help Hussein. Everyone who came, people would see, is there someone who's coming to us to help? And they will think that this is Yazid's army. They're coming to help Yazid. Yazid's ranks are being filled, and their army is growing, while Hussein is still the same. There's no one coming for Hussein. Everyone is dejected. Everyone feels down, because, you know, no one has come to help Hussein. No one is here to help the son of Rasulullah. What kind of people are these? Everyone is coming to help Yazid. What has happened to these people? Everyone is thinking. Abbas doesn't say anything. Companions don't say anything. They don't even want to look at each other. No one has come. No one has given them any sort of hope that someone is going to come to Hussein. Hussein makes his army. You know, he made his army. He made the army in 3 flanks. One was the center. There was a left and there was a right. The center was Abbas. Hussein appointed someone on the left rank. On the left side, the tent was made. And on the right side, when he made the tent, he left it empty. He said, who's the commander here? He says, the commander is coming. The commander is coming. Wait. He says, but Maulana, everyone is here. No one's going to come at this late hour. Why do you say that? Appoint someone so they can be in charge. He says, wait. The sahib of this tent, the owner of this tent is coming. Hussein was pacing that night. That night he was pacing across the tent, waiting for something to happen, looking towards the desert. And a time came when Hussein told his companions, respected brothers, get up and go welcome your guest. He has come here. They go forward to see who it is, and they see Habib ibn Madahir. Habib is an old man, 80 years old. He is so old that his eyebrows have now gone over their eyes, his eyes. He's so old that his eyebrows are now over his eyes. He has tied a handkerchief to keep his eyebrows up so he can see. Tied himself with ropes as he comes towards the camp. He is just an old man. What is he going to do? He's not going to help fight anyone. He's 80 years old. He can't do anything right now. But when Habib came close to the camp, everyone started rejoicing. Everyone started rejoicing. Yes, Habib is here, Habib is here. The first time in Karbala, and the only time in Karbala where there was jubilation and celebration in the camp of Hussein was because of Habib ibn Mazahir. When he came there and Hussein saw him, Hussein welcomed him and said, Habib, welcome. I was waiting for you. He says, Maula, you wrote to me. How sad it is for you that you are stuck here in the middle of the desert. Habib, you are going to be here. I know I would be coming here. You don't have to say that. And Habib said this to Hussein. He says, your father promised it. Your father Ali had promised it. When I was in Siffin, I was fighting with Imam Ali, and I asked your father, make dua that I become shaheed here. And Ali told me, Habib, you will become shaheed, but not here, in a greater place than this. Habib then came inside. Everyone took him inside the tent, and they were talking, and they were all asking him, what is happening in Kufa? What's going on? All the companions are around him, and they see that a handsome youngster comes to the door. Handsome youngster comes to the door and says, who is Habib? He says, who is Habib? Habib looked at him, and for a second, Habib was shocked. He was amazed looking at this youngster. He could not believe his eyes what he is seeing, because it was Ali Akbar, who looked exactly like Rasulullah. And Habib hasn't seen Rasulullah for a long time. When he saw Ali Akbar, he thought he saw Rasulullah in front of him. He saw Rasulullah in front of him. So he looked at him and said, I am Habib, Ana Habib. Ali Akbar, he didn't know who Habib was. Ali Akbar never met Habib ibn Mazahir. When Ali Akbar looked at him, he says, I just came to tell you that my aunt Zainab has sent salam to you. She said, Salam Habib, welcome. And when Habib heard that, he started hitting his head with both hands. Walked out of the tent screaming, took the dirt of Karbala, put it on his head, and start hitting himself. He says, Ma ana wa akun, who am I? Who am I that Zainab is sending a salam to me? You know, there's 2 times Zainab remembered Habib. Cry now, give your condolences to Fatima. 2 times Zainab remembered Habib. Once was here when Habib came, and the other one was in Tilla Zainabiyah, when Zainab stood there and Hussein was being slaughtered. He said, Aina Hasab al-Hussein, Aina Habib, Habib, where are you? Look what's happening to the to the son of Fatima. أجركم على الله على لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين يا محمود بحق محمد يا الله بحق علي يا فاطر السماوات بحق فاطمة يا محسن بحق حسن يا قديم الإحسان بحق حسين. Allah, give us the tawfiq to be on the right path, the wisdom to understand your guidance, hasten the reappearance of our Imam. Make us his helper when he comes. Wa akhir ad-dawan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Matam Hussein.